Happy Sunday! Ding, 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 ding. Happy
Happy
Sunday.
Sunday. Welcome to our Sunday live chat. What's going on, Karen?
Yes, happy Sunday, everybody. My name is Karen Frazier. I am your favorite virtual assistant. I work with healthcare providers to assist them in administrative tasks in their business, and they can also create a better, work-life balance. But
Hmm.
today's conversation is going to be about customer service, right? Strategies for my truly dear Gail Weather. She's going to give us a breakdown. So I hope you guys got paper and pen written down, ready to take them notes, invite a friend, and be ready to ask some questions that you might have because you do not want to miss this conversation, especially if you're somebody in business or an employee, right? Anybody, customer service relates to everybody. So Gail, take it over. Let's get this conversation started.
So, hi everybody. My name is Gail Withers. I am the lead training consultant with Envision Training Solutions, and my superpower is helping leaders to turn their knowledge bases into fun, interactive, engaging presentations so that everybody on their team can learn, grow, and earn together. Today, we're talking about customer service, something that is dear to me because as you know, Karen, before you can even begin to serve your external customers, you need to be able to serve yourself and your team internally. So we are just gonna lay some ground rules, and we're gonna assume that everybody, in terms of your customer base, is satisfied. Because I did a poll last week, and everybody was saying, well, before we can talk about improving our customer experience, we need to make sure that our customers are satisfied. And yes, that is a given. The thing is, though, that the same way your customers are satisfied, your competition is also satisfying their customers. So it's about taking it to the next level. We don't only want to satisfy, we really want to look at our experience for our customers. What are we, really doing? So let's get started, Karen. I'm going to ask you the question first. Do you think that customer service only applies mainly to retail, or is it something that you think applies to everybody?
No, it applies to everybody. I mean, customer service. If you're a human being, if you have human being people that come into your establishment or you interact with human beings, then customer service apply. Unless you talk to, that's the only way it works. If you are customer service applies to all industries. It doesn't matter what industry they're in. It applies to everybody, right? So that's something that I think, and for me, it took me a while to understand that. Before my early years, I used to work a lot of retail. So in retail, you have to make the customer feel good, make them feel welcome, invite them, upsell them as possibly, right? But when I got into healthcare, I started to realize how the training was customer service. Customer service, patient we consider patient engagement. Essentially, it's the same thing, just different terminologies. And that's when I realized that customer service applies to every industry, whether no matter what it is.
Yeah, I agree. So whether you are a doctor, a lawyer, a
Mhm.
physiotherapist, it doesn't matter. Yes, it applies if you are running a supermarket or you're selling a product, but it's also the other services that you need to be aware of.
Mhm.
And something I realized in terms of your customer service and what you can offer. So like my example always would be, I went to the doctor and it was a normal routine checkup, but I had a very bad breakout on my body, on my face and on my arms. And what normally happens when you go to the doctor is that they will look at it and they will make some recommendations. But my doctor, he said, you know what, I really think that you need to go and see a dermatologist.
Mhm.
I can't really see what's going on. Might have an idea, but you need to get a specialist. The normal thing when a doctor tells you that is they will say, I'll write a letter to Dr. Karen, and you need to go and make an appointment. An appointment will normally take you like maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 months, because now you have to get on your phone and call that person and try to get a space in and try to manage your situation in between there. But what this doctor, he said, you know what, if you have time today, I can make a few calls. I know some people and I can see if they can fit you in today because I am calling. And he didn't have to do that, but he did. And he
Mhm.
had to call like three people, and he found a space for me, and I was able to leave his office, go straight to that dermatologist, and get seen on that day. So for me, that was a really nice service, and I appreciated it. And I would always go back to him. You know, let's say there are like three or four doctors in that office and you can choose, but I will pick him because he cared about me. And I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, in terms of customer experience, what your goal should be is not only to satisfy your customer, but to make them feel that you really, really care.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree with you, Gail. I mean, especially I know for me, I'm always going to speak from a healthcare perspective, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so and that's one of the things that I always try to create when I speak to patients. It's definitely go and step out. Sometimes before when I was in the office, I'd be so busy, but I still would take the time out to help them fill out the intake forms. Right, those are either they don't understand the English language, or
Mm-hmm,
those are what elderly, right? Because that to me is like, oh, they need to help. Let me help them out. And it doesn't really take a lot to help stand yourself a little bit to help someone, or even become a translator because I was able to do that for them, right? So I think just stepping out a little bit, and this doesn't always have to be the doctor. That also extends out to the staff members, the front desk, because
mm-hmm,
what people don't realize is yes, it's a doctor. Everybody, the doctor, 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 but the front desk create the experiences for the patients. All right, the front desk person is a person that yeah, the doctor gets the accolade. Oh, your doctor so and so office is so great, but it's really the front staff that's creating that experience,
mm-hmm,
right? So I think that the front desk person, or the front desk individual is the people that create the experiences for the patients, make them feel welcome, make them feel seen. Just step yourself out a little bit more, translate this form. If they need some forms to be filled out on time in a timely fashion, make sure they get it for them. Hey doctor, listen, so and so need this paper to be filled out by this date. I started to fill it out, but it needs your section in there. Just give it to the doctor, and just depending on who the doctor is, because your provider. If they're busy, go back to them after a day or two. Hey, did you do that form for somebody? Trust me, people appreciate those things. People don't realize it, but people appreciate those things.
mm-hmm. And you
You
make a very good point. I think sometimes, especially if you're involved in a service
Yeah.
industry, you forget how critical training your frontline people.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you said, you're paying to see the doctor, yes, but to get to see the doctor, you have to go through his frontline
Yep.
people, whether it is the receptionist, whether it's that nurse that takes your blood pressure and stuff at the beginning,
Yep.
they update your notes, and the interaction of your patient slash customer with this person can make or break you in
Yes.
terms of do they come back. And one of the things you and I had talked about too in preparing for this live is loyalty.
Yes.
So it's not about satisfaction only. I could be satisfied, but I may not be loyal. And
Right.
the day something happens that really takes me off, I'm gonna take my loyalty somewhere else, and
Yep.
you're gonna lose that money that it would have been bringing for you. So training your people and managing your customers' expectations through those people, very important. the
Yeah.
other the other great point there that you made sometimes is that your frontline people know what works in your business better than you, because they are
Yes.
interfacing with your customers. So sometimes, for example, you might want to run a promotion and the promotion is not working. You don't know why it's not working. Ask your frontline people, because the customer may say, you know what, I don't want to win a car. I want to win a cruise. I don't want a cheap mug. I really want something else. But that's because they get the interaction. Because sometimes your customers feel a little more comfortable talking to your frontline people rather than talking to you. So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah, that's
Don't know if you
true.
find that as well, because sometimes you could have a nurse who's rude, or she's a little rough in taking your pressure, or she makes you
Hmm.
feel stupid, or the receptionist is under a lot of pressure and she says, when you keep asking, well, how long do I have to wait, and you might get the responses I have gotten, well, you're coming to see the doctor and he's busy, you're gonna have to wait. I don't mind waiting, but I don't want to wait 2 hours. At
Right.
least tell me
Exactly.
if you have an
Exactly.
emergency, is something going on, so that then I can decide, am I gonna wait, or am I gonna leave and take my sick body somewhere?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. One thing I never understood was sometimes depending on the practices that they work, that I've worked in multiple practices. And I always feel that you have to be honest with people, right? If you run in delays, because I work in radiology for a few years, and if sometimes delays do happen, the machine breaks
Mhm,
down, anything can happen. And I feel like it's okay to be honest with somebody, regardless of the circumstances, and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on, right? We delayed an hour or 2 hours or whatever the case might be, and give them an option. I could send you to another site, or I could reschedule you. At least they have an option to decide what they want to do. And I always feel like being honest with someone, with a patient, for me, in my experience, it always worked out for me, right? Because I always felt that that was always the right thing to do. Regardless of the circumstances that it was, I always be like, listen, I know you're trying to get approved for this, but this is what's going on, and this is what I need, and this is what's happening. So we can either work together, make it happen, or you argue with me all day, and it's nothing gonna happen. So
Mm-hmm.
this is how I talk to them, Gail. Okay. I'm straightforward to the point, and people respect people who are straightforward, respectfully, right? Not being rude, but being straightforward. Let them know, hey, this is what's going on. We can either work together, try to figure it out, or you argue with me all day, and we ain't gonna get nowhere. So you decide what choices you want to make. And believe it or not, the person will work with you because they realize that arguing is not going to get you nowhere. You can curse me out, you can say a whole lot of things to me, but the problem is still going to be the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have learned that being honest to a patient in a respectful way always, it's a great turnaround. So for me, I never had those issues. I mean, I had difficult patients now, but I never had those issues because I always felt that it's always worked out for me to be honest and just let them know up front, this is what's going on, this is the options, and then what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And were you trained to
um,
behave like that, or did you come to that realization on your own? Because some people are not mature enough to behave that way. The normal reflex human action is, if you come at me rude and with a
yes,
certain attitude, I'm going to come at you in the same way. So you have to train. It goes back to training. You have to train your people to be calm, not to take stuff personally, and to
yes,
explain. I think for most people, as a customer, we just want to know, like, what's going on. We just want to know what is the backstory, like what's going on. Has something
yes,
broken down? Is it? We just want to know so that we can make a decision. When you leave us sitting indefinitely, whether we're talking healthcare, but for whatever situation, we can apply this to your
yeah,
virtual assistant practice, because like you may not have gotten back to a client for whatever reason, and I may not have gotten back to somebody I'm working with. They just want to know, and I
yeah,
believe that most people are reasonable. They
yeah,
understand that life happens, and that you say, okay, so this is the situation, how can we work together to come up with a solution? Because you being upset, I am upset. It's not gonna make the problem go away, and it's not gonna be resolved. So let's see how we can work together. And I think that's what people want. Like, so that's all part of the caring. Show me you care about me. Show me
right,
that you're not just gonna take me for granted and leave me out in the cold without any
yeah.
form of communication.
No, that's true. And then Kat just made a point. Sometimes people just want to vent because they had. Remember, sometimes it might not be your experience. Sometimes they had a bad experience with the person before you or two people before you, right? And by the time they get to you, they're ready at wit's end because they have to explain the whole circumstance again, right? And they don't want to do that because I get it. It's annoying to keep explaining the same thing over and over again, and you don't see no results. I understand that. So Kat made a good point. Sometimes they just want to vent, but at the same time, it's also try not to take it personal. And it took me a while not to take it personal now. Okay? It took me when I first started. I used to it'd be like, "Why she yelling at me for?" But she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't yelling at me per se, but she was yelling at the outcome that she been had, and I had to kind of, after years into working at front desk, I became, what they call it, thick
Thick
skin,
skinned, yes.
and I learned that it wasn't personal. And then after they did all of that, I'm like, okay, so how can I help you then? Like, let's. I know you. This is what happened. This is what happened. But let me figure out what can I do. And you'd be surprised if you try to create a space, a solution based space, right? Try to come up with a solution, regardless of regardless of the outcome, because we don't have sometimes we don't have no control of the outcome. But at least if they feel like you made an attempt to solve their problem, they would appreciate to that. Even if the outcome might not be what they want. And maybe they might still be upset, but you have tried to your best to help the
Hmm.
person. Because sometimes we don't have no control over certain solutions. We really don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that's the biggest thing, And I want to share a quick tip with that with customer
Hmm.
service because I was working in a podiatrist's office years ago, and he was in business for 30 years, right? Due to COVID, his business closed down. He had to close his business. And one thing before I started my business, I had a conversation with the provider because it was pretty cool.
Mhm.
And he mentioned to me, he said, listen, one thing that I need you to focus on is create a space for your patients to love your clients to really love you. Meaning, take the time to get to know them. Yeah, we all need money, we all want money, but that shouldn't be the first thing in your mind when it comes to helping and serving your clients, right? And he even mentioned to me those patients that he had patients that he had them for years, Gail.
Mhm.
Those same patients help the doctor find a new location.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what the point that he was making. Yeah, he closed his business right at this location, but he opened a location someplace else because his patients helped him find that location. So
Mhm.
this is the power of customer service and showing somebody you really genuinely care. Because
Mhm.
when he needed, he didn't know what to do. He was trying to figure out his next step, being in business for 30 years. But his patients helped him find what he needed to find, helped him go to the next step of his business or the next step in his career.
Mhm.
So that goes to show that there's power in intentional and showing up for people and showing that you genuinely care for people. Because once you're able to do that, I think people would naturally be willing to help out, be willing to join your whatever services you have, because they know that you're not, yeah, you need the money, but that's not the primary focus. Your primary focus is the person. And
Mhm.
that's one thing that always stick with me when in this business is trying to create an environment for my clients so
Mhm.
they feel comfortable with me and they generally end up liking the service that I give to them.
Mhm.
And that's came from him. That came from he was my employer, and then he became I guess a mentor, if you want to call him. But that was the first tip that he gave me, and now it was stuck with me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'll share it with you guys. Who I want to keep it, I can take
Yeah,
it.
I think that one of the things to we have to show that it's not just about the money. It may
Yeah,
just be about the money. Of course, you're in business to make money,
right.
but people don't want to be seen as just dollar bills. They want you
Mhm.
to treat them at a different level other than
Yeah,
as a source, of income. And let's go right into, like, so we're going to talk about some tips and strategies, because at the
yes.
end of the day, as I said, our baseline for you is we're going to assume that you are already satisfying your customers, but we want to help you take it to a different level and be one step ahead of your competition so that you can increase your sales. And you made some good points, Karen, so I'm going to start with that one. One of the things you need to do is to be honest with your
Hmm.
customers at all times, and you need to provide some level of awareness for them, some kind of resource or something that allows them to know, okay, you know what, you came to me and your knee is hurting. So here are some resources. You need to take these vitamins, you need to do these exercises. If you're not sure, you can go to this link and find some more information. They want to know that, okay, when I leave you, how are you still going to be with me? Even
Hmm.
though you may not be there physically. You also need to find some way to communicate with them consistently. So I like the fact that this doctor's clients helped him find a new space. I believe the only way that could have happened is if he had been communicating with them outside of the office. So you can have a little newsletter, you can share tips, you can have
Hmm.
some kind of a blog or something in a service line industry that allows you to stay in touch with your clients, and even with your posts. You can run your polls, you can drop stuff in the comments. And like you and I were talking earlier, social media is very important. You may not be able to advertise on social media, but I follow a doctor who all he does is have a conversation. He uses his IG space to have a conversation, and he has so many followers from conversations. He's not
Hmm.
advertising; he's just sharing conversations. So here is a tip: if somebody in your family may be displaying signs of COVID, this is how you really know, or this is what's going on now. There's an outbreak of, say, like dengue. This is what you need to be aware of. I'm letting you know, and it really works. So you need to find unique ways of staying in touch with your clients
Hmm.
and watch what your competition is doing. That's also a good yardstick. What is my competition doing? What's Karen doing that
Hmm.
I may be able to do but better?
Right.
You know? And the other normal things you can do, when I say normal, things that most people do, you can have your customer loyalty program where every time you come, you get a star or you get something after 5 visits. um, Customer appreciation days where you say, come and see what happens behind the scenes, or come and join us, get I was gonna say free coffee and cookies, but that might not be healthy. But
Right.
people see you operating in a different way and space, and people love apps. Is there an app you can create for your customers that will allow them to do something that they can't do? People love apps. People love technology.
Yep.
Unless you're a really old person and you're afraid of the tech. And tech will always be with us. So can you find a way to create ease of access for your customers?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's some good strategies.
Hmm.
For people just to get them started as far as just, creating a better, I say luxury, experience for your clients. But let me ask the question, Gail. How can somebody find out what their customer wants? Like what process can they do to help them decide, okay, maybe this is not gonna work, but this is what so and so wants.
Yeah,
A
you mean
majority, it's a majority. So what would
other
be,
than asking them?
yeah. Because some people
It's
don't
so
know what they
it's
want.
so simple, but it's so simple. But I find out we don't take the time to ask. It's,
Yeah.
it's really just a conversation. So like, and we keep talking about doctors, but then we're gonna talk about your business and my business. So if you're a doctor and your patient comes in, you can casually in the conversation ask, so like, what was your experience like outside in the waiting room? Because he or she wouldn't know because they're on the
Yep.
inside. Like, are there a lot of people outside? Was Karen polite? Was she smiling today? Because sometimes your staff might have stuff going on. It's just
Yeah.
a conversation. Was everything okay? And of course, you can also have a survey form. There's nothing wrong with having a survey. Like
True.
for me, at the end of all of my projects with my clients, I create this little survey and I said, can you rate my service? I'm not going to
Mhm.
assume that it was good. Yes, you've paid me, but how was it really? Rate these aspects. Was I organized? Was I friendly? Did I use my innovative, creative things for you? Was I a problem solver? Would you do business with me in the future? Would you recommend
Right.
me to somebody? And if yes, what would you tell them? Can I use your recommendation
That's a good,
as a thing?
yeah.
So, it takes a while to maybe create, and you might think that's one more step. But the only way you're gonna know what your customers want from you, really, is if you ask. And that's why you mentioned polls earlier. Polls
Yeah.
can help conversations. It's just really a conversation and making time to have that conversation. So these surveys are really good. Um,
No, that's true, Gail. I mean,
Feedback sessions. So like some people have one-on-one coaching sessions or like your consultation calls. That's a way to find out what a new customer wants, and then you ask, so if you were to do this, what really would you like to see? What would you
yeah.
like to see
What
as an addition?
results?
What results do you want? How can I
Right.
really help you? And that information is really good too in helping you streamline what you're doing now versus, do you need to switch anything out? Maybe people don't want exactly what you're offering. Maybe they want something more, maybe they want something less. So it's about having that conversation, yes, but what you can do, at least this is what helps me, create a questionnaire for yourself. What
Yeah.
questions do I need to ask to get this information? And you just go down and you take off, because otherwise I'm not going to remember. Like two hot flashes and I
Yeah.
don't remember anything anyway. Um, so that really helps. And what you can do as well, so this has also helped my clients, train your staff to
Yes.
ask customers stuff in it, in an you don't want to be intrusive. You don't want to make them think you're asking them their business. Like, how are you feeling today? Is
Yeah.
anything hurting? Were you able to get the doctor earlier on? Like, were you able to reach Gail when you really wanted her? Was she accessible? So in their greeting and in their interaction, give them some questions that they too can ask their customers, and then at the end you have your little powwow sessions, because you should be meeting with your team each week anyway. So how was this week for you? Did you get any feedback from our customers? What are they really saying? Was Karen difficult? So you might have a
Mm.
client that from the time you see them hit that door, they're gonna bring all of their drama in. So was Karen a drama queen today as usual? Were you able to, ease her stress and make her become a little different? Like, so there are things, even with the podiatrist,
Yeah.
there are things you could ask. Like, so should I don't have any things. I'm just saying you
No,
need
no,
to
no. That's
go on
fine.
in your industry and see what the need is there that you can fill, and can you fill it more creatively. So you might have Karen as a patient, but what about Karen's children? Are is Karen really looking after her children's feet?
Yeah.
The way she should be, so that when they become an adult, they will know how to treat their feet differently. So it's all sometimes about education
Education.
and
Yep.
making people aware, and you do that through training. And even as a doctor or anybody else, you can have those sessions. You can have a free
Oh yeah.
webinar, a free coaching session. Everything is available now online and virtual, so there's no reason you can't have a Zoom session. It could only be 30 minutes. You invite people to come. Today we're going to talk about feet. Next week we're
Feet
going to talk
health.
we're going to talk about manicures and pedicures, and really, because I saw somebody was talking about, and I've never done this, putting gel tips on your toes, and how that is not always the best thing to do for your toes. She was saying your toes look very pretty, but from a health perspective,
It
is
might
really
not be the
not
best thing.
safe. Um,
Yeah.
and then she talked about diabetes and amputations and stuff.
Hmm.
There's so many things that your customer or your client does not know that you can help them know and make yourself be the go-to person for them.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially when it comes to feet, to the health, feet health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I
And
think
we
that
take our
people
feet
don't
for
know.
granted. We just walk on them. People don't even remember to take that little scrubby thing. I forget what it's called, and do
Yeah,
their
the
heels. And, people go out and you see their feet and you're like, OMG, like, what's going on with that person?
no, but I mean, I agree with you 100%. Just taking the time to customer service, always ask questions to understand that your customer is not, you might think, like you just mentioned, the person, you might think that you're doing a good job, right? But are you really doing a good job? Like, how do you know you're doing a good job? And Gail, you're right. Always take surveys, ask questions, inquire. How often do you think somebody as a business? How often do you think you should be taking surveys, inquiries as far as
I
customer service?
think if it's a new client, I think that client should be surveyed like as soon as possible after the first visit, because you want to know for sure, like, okay, so what made you come to me? How was the service? And then I think after that, maybe every quarter, like every three
I think
months
that's
should
a
be
good,
fine
yeah.
enough. I don't know. Do you think it should be more? I think
No,
people
I
do
think every
get
quarter is
tired with
good.
surveys.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
there, you can ask your random, it's like, how are you feeling today? You can have your team or you yourself can ask those questions in between. But in terms of, a formal surveying process, I think once a quarter should be enough. And I think one of the other things we need to be willing to do too is go outside of the box and maybe invest some money. So I'm going back to the podiatrist. You may find that there's a special oil that really works well. So when you talk about the oil, you say, and if you want to pick up a small bottle, feel free to get it from me and you can pick it up on your next visit for an introductory cost of whatever, because it's still a cost to you.
Yeah.
So how can you think outside of the box? For me, I like people like guides. So like, your quick guide to customer service, like 10 questions to ask yourself to make sure you're on the right track. They like self audits, they like checklists. So there's nothing wrong with giving somebody like a freebie as a resource. And here are some additional resources that can help you. And if you need any more help, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as for me, like one thing that I've been doing because it's natural, For me, it's more like getting to know the client, right, as a person, as a human being. Like, what do they like, what they don't like, if they have kids, how many kids they have, But that comes with time, right? Of course,
Mhm.
if they have kids, how many kids they have, Not being too part like nosy type of way, but just getting to know the person as an individual. Just taking a little step, maybe give them a happy birthday card
I
with a
was just gonna say
discount,
birthdays are
or if their son's birthday
hanging
is
fruit.
coming
Yes,
up.
like, everybody loves to be recognized for their birthday. They
Yes,
like a message. They like,
yes,
even if it's a gift card that it's your birthday, you can get X amount off for your next visit, or here's a free. Like people love birthdays, and birthdays are
yes.
even more of an opportunity than Christmas.
Yes, even let's say if it's maybe not their birthday, but their child's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
you could send them a birthday card with a gift card or something like that, right? Because you don't, so those little thoughtful things, I think that people will see that, it's not always about maybe not so much about the client, but maybe about they, for paying forward to their family if you're able to do that, right? They say they're having I have a client who's going to be a grandma for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The baby shower is coming up. showing up for the person, saying, congratulate, or even if you can send over a gift, a baby shower package, a personalized gift, things that sometimes we have to think outside the box to show appreciation to the person that we working along.
Yeah,
Things
I
like that,
agree.
just taking the time to know them as a person. They like candles. Like, I'm a DIY girl, so I'm always creating something. Low, and plus I have eczema, so I always have to create certain body butters for myself because of
Mm-hmm,
my eczema.
mm-hmm,
So if I create things, lips, so I will sometimes I'll give them away, or I could give them as a gift to people that just to say thank
mm-hmm,
you. People
mm-hmm,
love body butters. People love candles. People love bath salts. People love chapsticks. I make all of
mm-hmm,
those things because it's a hobby that I have, that I always have. And then with eczema, that also helped my eczema as well.
mm-hmm.
So, those little DIY gifts, if you're into that. If not, just whatever you can do. It don't have to be nothing grandiose, nothing major. Just something that you can afford. It's about
Mm-hmm.
thoughtfulness.
It is.
That's really what it's about.
Yeah, and it's about the conversation. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking if I can go back to your baby shower conversation, I'm thinking, so when Karen comes in, I'll say, so what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And grandmoms to be love to say, oh well, Gail is having a baby soon. I'm not. Gail is having a baby soon, and I'm so happy, and we're getting ready. And then you'll say, oh, but that's so cool. When is the shower? And you get that day, and you say, oh, well, the shower is next week, Wednesday, and then that is your trigger to make a note, send something over for the shower, or call, or
Yeah.
so it's about the conversation. And you always say, so what's going on in your life?
Yeah.
And if you want to find a way to marry what you do as a hobby with what you do as a profession, and use that as a way to get to know your customers better. In your case, Karen, if you had a physical office, you would have your candles or your bath salts or whatever it is you're
Right.
making. And you would say during the thing, well, I have this hobby. I've been making some candles. If you'd like to look at a few before you go, you can chat with the front desk. I have a few on sale. Let me know what colors you like. And that way it's also, and what do you like to do? What are your hobbies? Is there
Right.
anything you love doing that I should know about?
Right.
So it's all
That's a
about
good
getting
point.
to
Yeah.
know people at a base level. They're not only there for business for you. They
Yeah.
are, but they have lives outside of business.
That's a good point, because you know what, Gail, we all customers, right? Either you're a customer at some point, so we have to put ourselves in in a customer mindset, in a customer
Mm-hmm,
shoes, right? Meaning, if I'm a customer, this is what I would like somebody to do. I like thoughtful things, right? Because to me, that's more. To me, I could buy something, but thoughtfulness, taking your time to really do something thoughtful, really speaks more than me just buying you flowers or something. Not saying flowers are not cute. They are, don't get me wrong.
yeah,
But
yeah.
really taking time to do something thoughtfulness really speak greater. And that's really more appreciative, one. And two, that's more long lasting in a person's mind than
Mm-hmm,
just buying flowers.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is why I always say do something thoughtful. That's what she mean by outside the box. If people, and
Mm-hmm,
that's what I know you just mentioned outside the box, but essentially that's what you're saying, Gail. Extend yourself outside of just the normal gift giving, right? If possible, and then put yourself in the customer's perspective.
mm-hmm,
I mean, because you know what, Gail, we're in a time right now that people really are saving their money, because we in inflation. Most people are saving their money. They're trying to condense in their spending. Some people losing jobs, for whatever reason. So this is the time that you really have to be thoughtful to your
mm-hmm,
clients, right? Yeah, getting new clients is amazing, but my focus is doing a better experience to the customers that I do have right now, right? Maybe possibly if you have an offer that you could extend to them, that could be beneficial to them, then extend it to them, right? But if you already created that space where they feel appreciative, they might be open to just extending their wallet a little bit more to what you're
yeah.
offering. So I will
Mm-hmm,
always say put yourself in a customer perspective. But right now, because of the way things are financially, uh, consider the customers that you already have. How can you extend your service a little further? What can you do to make them feel more appreciative? What can you do to make them, take more time to get to know them? This is time for you to take more time to, I'll say, surveys. This is the time to create maybe some programs that can help them, or a referral program, or
mm-hmm,
loyalty program, right? This is the time to do that because people are really saving. They more they will think twice to spend because times are hard now, you know. And I'm not, and, you know, new customers are great. We all want them, but also consider the ones you already have.
Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes too it's easier to work with the ones you already have
Mm-hmm.
and to keep them loyal rather
Hmm.
than, you know,
The new ones,
just
for the
focus
new.
on the new ones, because the new ones may only come to you once, whereas the loyal ones you want them to keep coming back. And then the more loyal your customer is, then word of mouth is such a big
Yes,
potential income earner. You know, because
yes.
if Karen has gone to this person, I know Karen, I trust Karen, I have a
Yep.
relationship with Karen, she's not going to point me in the wrong direction. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go and use that person too. And I'll piggyback off of that comment you made. And you're so right. People are watching every dollar. They want the maximum bang for their buck, which I know is cliche, but it's so true. I will also add though, in addition to money, people are suffering from so much stress and
Yep.
burnout and mental health issues, emotional
Mm-hmm.
well-being issues. I think they want to somebody, and is why I keep coming back to showing that care. So if I come to you and I come today and there's nothing wrong with you following up with me in about 2 weeks and saying, well, how is the knee? Is it still hurting? Were you
Right.
able to get that new client based on the information I gave you? How is your mom? Is she okay? How did the baby shower come off? There is nothing wrong with
Yes.
following up in between there, because people, as I said, want to know that you care about them outside of business. Some
Yep.
people may think is, I don't have time to be answering this phone all the time, but I think the average person really wants to know, you know what? I didn't just go to see the doctor and they wrote me a prescription and they forgot about me. And I know that if you have a gazillion patients, it may not be easy to
Yep.
keep in touch with all of them, but have a schedule randomly. Even if you only communicated with 3 or 4 patients a day or
Right.
maybe 20 a week, that goes a long way into making sure they come back. So you have to ask yourself a question: do I want to spend the 5 minutes to touch base with Karen and know she's going to come back to me, or do I not want to do anything and risk her going to somebody else?
Yep. That's the question.
So
That's a
that's
good
the
point.
question. Yeah.
Well, man. So, what are your takeaways from today? I mean, we don't have no questions in the chat so
Chat.
far.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody who logged in
Yes.
today.
Thank
Um,
you.
Yes, I don't see any questions. I see
Yeah.
the
Me either.
comments, which are very good. Kat was saying some people like to vent. Most people like to
Mm.
be seen and heard and know that
Yep.
they're cared
It's
for.
important. Yeah.
I would say, in terms of a takeaway for today, would
Hmm.
be care about your people. Show
Yep.
your people you care, whether it's your team or your customers. Make sure
Yep.
you train your staff in terms of interacting with your customers, but always, whether it's your team or your customer, have those conversations, have those ears in place. You know, listen more and talk less. Have
Yes.
your conversation so that you'll be able to better respond to your team and your customers and stay ahead of the competition, because you want to keep everybody loyal. You want your team to be loyal to you, but you want your customers to be loyal to you. Have those conversations, have those honest, because you know you talked about honesty. We
Yep.
need you to be honest in your conversations and show people that you genuinely care about them and that you're going above and beyond to create those memorable experiences. You just don't want to satisfy your customer, you want to create a memorable experience that will make them come back over and over and over again. That's my biggest takeaway for anybody on this call today. What's your takeaway, Karen?
No, I mean my takeaway from today is definitely taking the time to work with your customers that you currently have, right? Taking the time to elevate your experience, create a more luxury experience for them, and just taking the time to get to know them as a person. Yeah, we all yeah, it's business. Yeah, they pay they pay your salary, but it shouldn't be all about business. They are people, they have families, they have concerns, just like you do. They have things going on in their life too. I'm not saying to be nosy and be on in their business, but what I'm saying is taking the time to get to know them as a person. Who are they? When is their birthday? Are they married? If they're not
Mm-hmm.
married, do they have kids? Um, just little things that you can get to know as with your clients, depending on your business. But still, if you have a client, you should try to get to know who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my takeaway from today. And don't be afraid to ask questions, like Gail mentioned. Get them surveys out. Ask whatever question you need to ask. Don't be ashamed or don't be afraid that they might be offended. But I mean, how you gonna know things if you don't ask questions? Like I don't understand that. You know.
Read minds. You're gonna read minds. You're gonna read minds.
Well, I hope today's live was valuable to everybody who's watching in the replays, who's gonna watch the replay,
Mm-hmm.
watching live. So, tell us in the chat what is your takeaway from today's conversation, and what do you want to add to the what value do you want to add to the conversation for today? What have you been doing in your business that's helping you with your clients, right? Because hey, I know what I'm doing, but I don't know what you're doing. Gail don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So the more we share, the more we can all learn from each other. So put that in the chat, guys. Have a great Sunday. It's raining here in New York. I don't know where you guys are at. Okay, I don't want to hear about Barbados because I know it's sunny over there.
It's sunny. It's sunny. It is
I know
sunny.
it's sunny where you at. So have a great Sunday, guys, and take care. See you next time. Same place, same time.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
See you.
Okay.